Um, okay, so somebody convinced me to make a video for this about my book. I wrote a book. Some people don't know that. I don't make a big deal out of it. Um, but a long time ago, when I was living in New Orleans the second time, I was working armed security, graveyard shift, and then every morning, me and my girlfriend at the time would get off of work, and we'd go and we'd sit at Borders on St. Charles with our coffee, and I'd sit there and I'd just write on my laptop. And it turned out that I managed to make a book out of it. Now, there's a little bit of a story behind that too. Years before that, I got this idea in my head for a story that I wanted to write. So I started writing it, and it was like one of those moments where inspiration hit you so fucking hard that you're like, wow, I got to do this right now. So I went and I wrote out, like, I'd say probably, it's like the first fifth of the book. Was written many, many years before the rest of the book was finished, which is why there's a distinct, you can tell when it changes from like the original writings to the second go of it. But I handed it to my girlfriend at that time, and she read it, and she was like, that's shit. And I went, oh, okay. So I put it in a drawer. She was a violent alcoholic with like problems. So, I mean, whatever. Anyway, so that happened. And then years and years later, when I'm in New Orleans with this other girlfriend who was a really cool person, and we're still friends to this day, just didn't make really good relationship, but good buddies. I randomly mentioned that had happened. She asked to read it, and so I handed it to her. She reads it, and she's like, this is great. You should finish it. And so with her encouragement and sitting there every morning in New Orleans, I wrote this book. I still didn't release a book for years because I was not very good with editing. Really bad with editing. Once I've finished writing something, I don't want to touch it again. I'm just kind of like, meh, meh, meh. I pushed it away. But eventually I did get it edited, and I started submitting it to agents, which is how you do it in regular publishing industry, is you mail it to agents, get them to read it, and if they want to take it on, then they go and try and sell it to book publishers. Problem was, this is right when we went through the recession. So I never got rejected for my book because I never got one agent to agree to read it. Not one. Every single one of them were like, we're in a recession and we are not interested in trying to pick up another book. So sorry. And that was why I never traditionally published it. So instead, I just put it up on Kindle Direct Publishing. And it's funny, too, because I put it up under the name of Ezra Holiday. Because at the time, I really didn't like the idea of anybody looking at me. I didn't want any attention. I didn't want people to know who I was. I didn't want people to I just wanted my privacy. And here we are. And so I put it up. But also, the other thing that was really frustrating was, whoop. There we go. The last thing I was trying to figure out was, all right, man, what am I going to do for a cover? And I had this friend of mine, and he's like, oh, well, I'll do the cover for you. And I'm like, okay, well, you're a graphic artist, right? And he's like, yeah. It's like, okay, cool. I want, like, a city inside of a face, Like, I want there to be this, like, kind of, I want this anthropomorphized vibe of, like, a city. It's really important. It's centralized to the story. That. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, I could totally do that. And then he made this. Yeah, he made that. So one of these days, I have the sequel has been 75% done for like, I don't know, man, 5-6 years, something like that. One of these days, when I'm not really doing YouTube and I don't have to worry about money, I don't have to worry about like maintaining momentum on a channel or whatever. When I'm at rest, then I'll probably pick it back up and finish that again. And I'll probably re-release that book under my real name, under Jeff Holiday, with a better cover. Someday. But for now, it's just kind of like, it's a weird thing. And you know what's the weirdest thing about, and this is the last thing I'll say before we're gonna say bye-bye. The last thing I'll say about it, it's so interesting to me because, you know, being on the internet, being on YouTube, you know, anytime you fuck up, you have a really rough night, and you do something embarrassing, like, yeah, it's embarrassing, and it's not like being embarrassed at a fucking party or being embarrassed out in public. You know, these are like sometimes tens, sometimes hundreds of thousands of people watching you be an idiot. That never comes close to embarrassing me as much as the idea of somebody reading something that I wrote. I don't know why. For some reason, it just feels so much more personal to me. It's very strange. But anyway, that's it. I wrote a book.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi! Thanks, Mistaken Reaper. I appreciate you resubscribing. You just ended the video. Mistaken Reaper is a really nice guy, and he is a fan of my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/RealJeffHoliday. Check it out sometime. Bye, everybody.